Welcome back to KDTV. My name is Cristobal Paulo Vasquez, President of the BBA, and I'm thrilled to introduce BI alumni and Chief Analyst at Nordea, Thina Saltvedt. Welcome back to BI and for your first time on KDTV.
Thank you.
So, on today's theme, get started. I'll begin right there. How did you get your first relevant job?
Well, my first relevant job was actually after my studies. So I worked in the Central Bank of Norway. I had to actually work a bit hard because that time, there was a lot of economists coming out into the market at the same time. Mm-hmm. I also studied abroad, so I didn't have the network as many of my friends had because they've been staying in Norway. But then again, you're a bit different then because you can actually supply something which people don't have, other people don't have, with language, with the culture, things you learn when you go abroad. So it took me like half a year, but when I got the job, it was relevant. It was the central bank, and I really enjoyed it. It was good. So I think you have to be patient to find it.
But your time in Manchester obviously gave you a lot of advantages, correct?
Yes, it did. I think because you learn the language, you also learn to interact with people from different cultures, different religions, different backgrounds, which learned me lots. So I think it was very, very useful, and not at least it gave me many friends from all over the world. So then I still have contact with them, and it's brilliant. So I really enjoyed my stay in Manchester.
Absolutely, and we can still hear that from the accent. Fantastic.
It's very nice accent, the North English one. Then it's a bit broader than the upper market London one.
That is true. I'm very familiar with that. So, you were a BI student yourself. Which tips would you have liked to have gotten in your time here, and what would you pass on to the hungry individuals looking to get to where you are today?
Hey, somebody want my work. Hey, that's good to hear. I like competition. I think I think it's very important to be a bit brave. You have to push your limits a bit, because often, especially girls, because we are a bit more shy, a bit more worried about what people think or doing something wrong. But as a new student as well, going into the job market, I think it's important to be honest, but also a bit brave. Tell what you're actually good at.
Absolutely.
Don't lie. You can't do that. But tell what you're good at. Don't be proud. Be proud of what you've been doing. Also, push your limits. Go a bit where you don't feel safe. Outside your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. Because that would, when you manage to do that, that would build your self-confidence. But we'll also give you some more, kind of feedback, but also a bit more bigger platform to stand on. So I would advise people to do that. Be part of, be brave and take part of discussions, for example. Say your words, say your meaning about things, because then of course you get the intention, but also you get the word in there. You also get the saying. You could easily starting to be a part who could actually influence something rather than just take something. You can start to influence something, which is important, especially when you start working. So I think that would be my best advice: is be brave,
be bold. Okay.
Yeah.
But is that something you've taught at I believe a Jente camp? Is that correct? Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, that's right. That's I did, because especially as a girl, you don't do that. You're a bit shy and you wait until you're asked, and you have to be 110% certain that your answer is right. Yeah. But then I saw that all the guys were moving upwards. I was standing at the same point. So what should I do? I want to do the same thing as we. I want to be promoted. I want a higher salary as well. So I thought, let's see what the guys are doing and try to pick up on some of the parts, of course. And I got some experience, because when I started to push my own limits, I saw it wasn't too bad. Sometimes I've been failing really miserable as well, but you learn from that. And that's something, your employer could live it as well. They give you a second chance. You always do that. And, yes, you get a bit embarrassed, but you learn from that. So starting to push my barriers, I learned so much from that, and you're getting more and more self-confidence as well, to getting more into your job. You don't feel that stressed. But that really builds I think that moves you up in the hierarchy as well.
Okay. So, being bold, pushing your limits, challenging yourself. In that, what were some of the toughest sacrifices you had to make in your journey to success?
I think these to push that barrier, that was a big thing for me, because I shouldn't say I'm not shy, but it's I'm obviously not, but but you feel that going across that border, that took me a while actually. That I saw the men they starting to move up, and what should I do? I'm nobody to ask because there's not many women in my division as well. So how could you do it? And trying and testing, but then after a while, when you break through the barriers as well, because especially when you start in the oil industry, in the shipping industry, people are men, people you meet, and they starting to knock in the head and say, oh, you look nice, and that was a good. They didn't talk about my presentation. If you talk to men, they talked about the presentation. Me was more the clothes I was wearing, and I wanted to be judged out from my competence and my knowledge as well. And to change that, you had to be stubborn. Because if I turned up there every time, they would stop commenting on my clothes or how I look like, and then start to listen to what I actually was saying. So breaking through that barrier and being a bit stubborn, I think that was the hardest part.
Fantastic. Well, that's great to see the way you did it, with what determination.
Yeah.
Fantastic. To follow up on that, is there anything, from what you just told me, is there anything you would have done differently?
I think I would start if I was starting now, I would be doing this much before, because I waited for quite a long time before I actually was brave enough to take that first step and starting to push my limit. If I was now, if I changed my job, for example, I would be much more brave from the starting point. So don't wait.
It's easy to say in hindsight.
It's easy to say now.
Okay, so one of your focal tasks is to analyze trends and factors in the oil market. What analytical advice would you pass on to students looking to screen the companies the coming days, or even their future employers on Thursday?
I think it's important to actually don't be too hasty about things. Go into the material. Because the way you're making analysis is, of course, you need the knowledge. You it might seem odd, but we're actually using the models you're learning here at BI, using that every day. And then you need to learn the industry as well, and that you learn by traveling around, talking to the industry, reading a lot. And then of course you need to have common sense as well, which if something because you make models and you look at them and you're saying that okay, this doesn't make really sense. Models are a tool you could help you to make a decision or make your forecast, but you need to have common sense and a bit of understanding of the market, and that takes a bit of time before you're actually in there. So don't be too hasty in the first analysis you're doing, and go into the details as well, because it's important to learn. You don't have to tell everybody about all the details, but learn them.
It shows your commitment, right? It shows your dedication and your will to want to work for the company.
Yes, exactly as well.
Fantastic. So you mentioned your market research in that, but if you boil down your market research, where do you see Nordea as well as the oil markets 15 years from now?
Nordea is an interesting company because it's like the oil market it's changing all the time. So it's trying to change, of course, within the industry. And what's influencing the industry at the moment, what we are very focused on as well, is the digitalizing of the bank sector.
Okay.
For example, using apps. You don't have to go to get a loan any longer. You can use apps, for example. You get information by using your phones. You can pay. You could using all this. This is just the start of this digital revolution. The bank sector will change completely now. Maybe you don't need people like me or traders or salespeople in the same way, because traders, they will be substituted, and that started already, by computers. So being part, I hope Nordea will be, and I hope the oil industry as well will see these changes. They're doing that as well, so we're seeing these changes coming in. But the technical revolution is going on, the digitalizing of the industry, it's important, and being part of it, and I think Nordea will be.
Okay, but you said you're very stubborn and you're very committed. How are you going to make sure that you stay relevant, and how are you going to make sure your role remains in that change?
The day I start to relax in my position, I actually ask my boss to kick me out of that. this position, because then I will not be good.
Okay.
You need to have the bit of pressure all the time, you know, you need to have the wish to read more, learn more about the industry, because then you move ahead as well, you know, you will develop with the industry. But the day I sit back and relax and saying, you know, I know this, kick me out of there because I'm no good.
All right, stay hungry. I'll keep that in mind.
Yes.
Norway is a leading nation in terms of innovation. As globalization is increasing, how important do you think an international workforce is so you can maintain, or better yet, keep that competitive edge?
I think it's very important. I mean, and that's important as well, that you see BI, for example, they have programs where you send students out. We have more international programs here in Norway. You know, language, understanding of other countries, how the company is working across border. I think that kind of experience is very important. You know, you can see that companies, you know, the borders, you know, country borders, they mean less and less. You know, when you're starting to work abroad, you have to think international, globally as well. And when you do the borders, actually country borders, doesn't matter that much. It's more the, you know, how you see the technology developing, what you see the branch or industry developing, and that's the more important thing. I think less and less geographical borders.
And your research also spans internationally, correct?
Yes, that's right, because the oil industry is global.
Absolutely.
And that's a very interesting industry as well. So now we're seeing that, you know, the energy sector is getting more and more integrated, different energy sectors, because you have globalization. You're also getting more competition. You also get the climate problems you're going to solve. That's a global problem, not a national problem. So this means that we have to work globally on this.
That's a great response. So I've asked you to share many insightful tips throughout this interview. But to conclude, let me ask you to leave us with one more word of wisdom. What guidance do you have for students on the way they should approach the companies on Thursday?
I think if they want to approach a company and to trying to get work or a position, I think it's important to study the company, be hungry, don't be afraid to call them up. You have to have a relevant question, because you can't just call them up and talk about you know, anything. Be relevant and present yourself. Be sure that what you're actually writing in your application is what they ask for if they have, you know, asking for a position. Because that's what they're looking for. If you're very good at playing golf, you know, that doesn't say you're a very good analyst. If they're asking for an analyst, of course it's important because it shows that you could have different interests. The most important, actually, answer what they ask about in the application form, because that is what they want to hear as well, because that's what they're looking for.
Okay. In terms of the KD challenge, we're looking to have you compete against the likes of Google, Microsoft, Moods of Norway, and me and myself, to see how you perform on the golf course, on the homemade golf course we have prepared.
That would be a real challenge, because I'm not very good at playing golf and I hate losing. So yes.
Okay, let's go. Right, I'm very, very grateful for you for sharing all these wisdoms today. A big thank you from KD and from the whole of BI. This is KDTV, and tomorrow the likes of LinkedIn and Google will be joining me. Don't miss out.